Hey losers, I'm Coral. Welcome to my channel. If you're joining me for the first time, I mostly read things that are spooky and weird. So if you're into that, welcome to the party. I'm here today with the books that I finished in the first half of March. So a couple things here. I've got a Baron on my lap. Baron, how nice of you. So, as far as my stats this month, I ended up reading 6 books total in the first half of the month. 5 of them were books that were off my TBR, so those are books that I owned previous to this year. I read 1,826 pages, which is about 114 pages per day. The oldest book I read so far this month was published in 1982, and the most recent was a new release, so that came out in 2025. I read 3 horror books, a romance book, a fantasy book, and a sci-fi book, so we're a little well-rounded this month. As far as book series, because I like to keep track of that, there was one that I started and maybe will continue someday. It kind of closes up nicely. We'll get into it. But the second one is definitely part of a series that I don't think I'm going to be continuing with. So to start out, the book that I do not own a physical copy of here, this is Victorian Psycho by Virginia Feito. This was a new release. I listened to an audio copy of this from my library because listen, I've been buying some books and I'd like to make sure that I like them first, so I'm trying to, when I can, rent a audio copy or, find one on like Everand or something if possible before I buy the book. And luckily, my library had a copy of this. Now this is pretty short. This is like novella length, and it goes by really quickly. I listened to this, I think, in one day, if I'm remembering right, or like, I do listen to things sped up, of course, but this was bananas, and I really liked this a lot. In this, we're following a governess named Winifred Naughty, and she is strange. She has strange ideas, she does strange things, and perhaps she's a little bit murderous as well. So this takes place, as the title implies, during like the Victorian age. She is coming into a new job, governing a 13-year-old girl and like an 8-year-old boy or something like that for a wealthy family. It seems like the adults are kind of weirded out by her. She does some strange things, like licking people's fingers in their sleep. But even worse, and I don't know, it's very, I feel like, character driven, so I can't tell you much of the plot without potentially spoiling things for somebody, but it really just builds to like a fever pitch at the end and is buck wild, and I really enjoyed it. It's so fast paced. I thought one of Fred's character was just like so, like, this is why I kept reading. You're like, oh, she's just this strange lady, and of course there's more to it, but it's really good. I like this a lot. Next, let's talk about Playmates by JN Williamson. This was published in 1982, and this is the first book I've read by JN Williamson, but this one was fairly interesting. This takes place in Ireland. The father of this family is originally from Ireland. He moved to America, got married, they had a child named Troy, a daughter. Due to certain circumstances, they have to move back to Ireland, and they're now living with the father Connor's dad. And the dad has some weird stuff of his own going on. He likes to brood in the attic where nobody else is allowed. And young Troy hangs out in the woods with these imaginary friends. Or are they? So this has like some Irish folklore in it. I liked a lot of this. I think my 2 main things were that there is this stuff involving the dad Connor. It's just like, I don't give a shit about this. When things happen in a book and you're like, I just don't care. There's some interesting takes on women in this story. And then the end. I can't say that like I hate it or anything, because it's really wacky and it's ridiculous, but it really comes out of left field. You're like, what does this have to do with anything else that happened in this story? But I mean, I don't know. It is alluded to that whatever's happening, or just that something's happening, you know? And you're like, okay, you know, nobody, that's fine. But when it all comes down to it, it was ridiculous and strange, and almost feels like the author meshed two of his own stories together or something like that. So I don't know. I mean, like, I didn't hate it. I thought some of it was really entertaining, but the ending, one of the most ridiculous things I've ever read. So there's that, at least. Then I read a romance book I've had on my shelves for a while. This is King of Battle and Blood by Scarlett St. Clair, and this was published in 2021. And I've read two of her books now, and I don't really like either of them. I know that this, at least like when I bought this, it was because I thought people really liked it. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Well, to start out, it has a trope that I really hate in, like, I don't read a lot of romance, but like once in a while I pick them up, and there's this trope that comes up sometimes in like fantasy romance books that I don't fucking like. I think I'm just bored to death of it. It just doesn't do anything for me, you know? And this, I can't give it away, but this is in there. So it's like automatically I feel like I'm set up to not like this, without knowing, of course, right away, because they don't out and tell you that's what's happening, but that is what's happening. But you can kind of guess, and then it's confirmed. So this is about, anyway, this princess named Isolde, who is married. She's a human woman, but she's married off to this vampire king who has been like conquering lands in the world that she lives in. And this is to kind of like barter peace with him. But he just like really likes her for some reason. And I don't like when that happens. You're like, you don't even know this person. How can you just like each other like that? And she's like reluctant. She feels torn because her people hate this man, but also she's like maybe a little bit attracted to him and things like that. But I don't know. I don't think I like this author. And maybe I just like, as much as the thought of it interests me, I'm not sure if I like more traditional romance or smut or whatever we're calling them. You know, I'm just not sure. Don't take my word for it. Read it yourself. I also ended up picking up Hum by Helen Phillips this month. This was published in 2024. I liked this, maybe not as much as I thought I would. This is about a woman named May, her husband Jem, and their two children. And they live in, it's like a futuristic setting, but not like we're living in outer space futuristic. Maybe this is us 20 to 30 years from now, maybe sooner. It's kind of scary. There's a lot of technology in this world. People rely heavily on technology. There's these things that the kids have on their wrist called their bunnies that they talk to, and is kind of like having a computer on your wrist a little bit, but like a lot of AI stuff. And there are these AIs in this world called hums, and they are there to be helpful. You know, this is also really character driven, so it's like I can't tell you a ton of the plot, but May undergoes this surgery. She's paid to do this, like a good sum of money, to have her face slightly altered so that she's no longer recognized by like cameras and hums and things like that. And with that money, she wants to take her kids to this nature preserve. And like, that's great for them because their city, bad air quality, hot, muggy. They live in an apartment, you know, which apartment living is just something some people have to do, right? But it doesn't seem like that's what they want to be doing. And so they're like, yes, this opportunity, all the forests are like burned down in this world. They keep talking about that. And so this is the opportunity for the kids to like see some real nature. I mean, the little girl's like obsessed with the fact that you can eat a strawberry off the plant. Like, the strawberry comes from a plant and you can see it there and you can eat it there. So, you know, if that gives you an idea of like how dire or unpleasant their like day-to-day living is, there you go. And you know, things kind of go off from there. It's definitely more literary with like sci-fi elements, I would say. I liked it, but at the end I'm like, huh. It just had one of those literary endings where it's like, huh. I don't feel like there was a huge climax or anything like that. It just kind of was a story that I read. And I liked portions of it. I like the way they're talking about technology, right? It's like, certainly it's helpful, but also certainly it's not always good for you. And how can you reach an in-between point on that? So I thought that was an interesting thing to think about in our day and age, of course. I also read Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones. This was published in 1986, and this is one of my favorite movies. This is one of my husband's and I's favorite movies. I watched this for the first time with him, and so like I feel like it's a kind of a special movie. And I was telling him all about the book because it is a little bit different than the movie. But oh my god, the movie, so good. And you know what? I really like this book too. I don't know if I like it as much as the movie. It's like whimsical, but obviously when you have Hayao Miyazaki animating something, it's just like, it's another fucking level of whimsy, you know? So if you don't know this story, this is about a young woman named Sophie whose family owns like a hatter, right? So they make hats. And one day, I mean, they've been hearing rumors about the Witch of the Waste being around, and that's really scary, but Sophie thinks like she just minds her own fucking business. She makes fucking hats and she doesn't leave town. So like, okay, the Witch of the Waste is here. That's interesting, I guess. But then one day she is cursed by this witch and she starts to appear much, much older, like a 90-year-old woman almost. And she's like, well, fuck. And then she just like decides to walk off to this walking castle that everyone knows belongs to the wizard Howl. And she just kind of like barges her way in there and starts to kind of work for Howl and manage his house and stuff like that. It's just a really nice story. It's a really nice story. There's a little boy who wants to become a wizard. He's kind of like Howl's apprentice, and Howl has this talking fire in his, that moves around the castle, and its name is Calcifer. And you know, there's some other plot points in there, but at the heart of the story, it's Sophie kind of taking care of Howl, who's kind of a big fucking baby, but at least by the end, in a more endearing way. So really like this. This edition is from Folio Society, so it's got some illustrations in it. Here's Howl and old lady Sophie. He doesn't want her to bother the spiders. But yeah, just like a nice story at the end especially. It's just like, oh, I like that. So a good one. And this is part of a series, but the way that this first one concludes, it's like, it's something that I like about older series, I feel like, is not everything was a cliffhanger. So you could read this and say, yes, I've read this and that felt nice, and then not think about the rest of the series if you don't want to. Okay, and finally, my favorite book I read this month. This is In the Valley of the Sun by Andy Davidson. This came out in 2017 and I fucking loved this book. I can't wait till I read this book again. What do I tell you about this? We're kind of following two people in this. There is this rough around the edges cowboy named Travis who has an encounter with a lady one night, and he wakes up in the trailer that he lives in, like the mobile trailer, one that you could hitch to your truck, and there's like blood everywhere. He's like, huh. And he realizes the blood is from him. So like, how could he possibly be alive after that? And the place he's parked at is this little like motel and I don't know, kind of camping, you know, whatever they call it, where you can bring your trailer up to and spend the night. It's owned by this widow named Annabelle and her like 11-year-old son, Sandy. You know, Travis and Annabelle and Sandy, like, I don't know, it's not like a relationship, but I guess it is. It's just like when you say they get into a relationship, it's not like romantic, but it's interesting. And I just, oh God, the way that this is written is so nice. It makes me want to cry. Oh, thinking about the ending. There is stuff that happens here. There's also these detectives hunting this serial killer, and there's shit going on here, but it's like one of those books where it feels like you're really looking into someone's life. It's written in a way that, I don't know, fuck, I can't, it's just like a Western Gothic. It's beautiful, and somehow the author manages to make even like the worst people in this story so sympathetic. Every single character is a sympathetic character. All the bad ones are sympathetic, and I just fucking loved this book. I would highly recommend it if you've not read it. It was so good. And just something about it, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just like calms your soul reading it. I don't know. So anyway, those are the things that I ended up reading so far in March. If you pick up any of these books, I hope it's in the Valley of the Sun. Although Howl's Moving Castle is really great, and Victorian Psycho. So I've not had a terrible reading month, luckily. And I can't wait to see what this month brings me next. So that's all I have for you today, but thank you so much for watching, and I will see you later. Goodbye!